Cuba is currently facing one of the most serious economic crises in its history. Shortages of medicine, electricity, fuel, and food have disrupted the daily lives of millions of people and placed significant pressure on the communist government. These pressures, resulting from the U.S. embargo and sanctions, have not been without effect and have brought Cuba to the negotiating table with the United States. Under pressure from the United States during the negotiations, a number of political prisoners have been released, and promises of economic reforms have been made. The government has even claimed that Cubans living abroad may be allowed to own businesses in Cuba, despite the country's traditionally socialist economic laws. However, in Washington, many do not consider economic and diplomatic pressure to be sufficient. Donald Trump and Marco Rubio have repeatedly stated that the ultimate goal should be regime change. Even the use of direct military force to occupy Cuba has been proposed on multiple occasions. Let us assume that the communist regime is overthrown tomorrow through military action. The more serious question begins at that very moment. Who is going to govern Cuba? And more importantly, who is going to defend the new freedom and democracy? More than 60 years have passed since the Cuban Revolution, and 5 generations have never experienced free elections, independent media, or political competition, having spent their entire lives under a repressive system. During this time, independent parties, free trade unions, independent media, and many civil society institutions have been completely dismantled. Most of the young and talented population has left Cuba, and the country has become one of the oldest in the region. The communist regime has led, due to widespread pessimism about the future, to Cuba having one of the lowest population growth rates in the world, at -0.4%. Migration is the most important way for people in this country to escape its problems. Overthrowing a regime is not the same as building a democracy, or even rebuilding and developing a country. The United States might be able to defeat Cuba's military and, by deploying ground forces at great cost, bring down the communist regime. But can it also create the political culture, civil institutions, and social trust necessary for a free society? That seems unlikely, or even impossible. For this reason, even many supporters of regime change emphasize other tools before actually overthrowing the regime. Economic pressure on the regime's leadership, engagement with Cuban society on a global scale, expanding civic spaces, and building communication infrastructure in order to prepare the conditions for the regime's collapse. For this reason, one of the conditions raised in negotiations with Cuba has been to provide satellite internet access for all the Cuban people. The reason for this proposal is clear. The United States knows that education and access to information are prerequisites for the formation of any successful opposition. Even a military operation against Cuba would be more successful if Cubans had better internal communication and could organize to assist foreign forces. An interesting point is the existence of an active, wealthy, and influential Cuban diaspora abroad, located close to the country's borders, namely in Florida. However, due to the lack of contact with the inside, opponents of the Castros have never been able to create the conditions necessary for regime change. The literature on regime change suggests that without the organization of domestic opposition, regime change is both far more costly for an external power, and the freedom that follows is often highly fragile and unstable. No society becomes democratic solely through external pressure, especially if there is no full-scale occupation and long-term reconstruction effort. For this reason, cases such as Japan and Nazi Germany are not ideal examples to cite as precedents. The United States is unlikely to engage in a complete nation-building project from scratch, as it did in Germany and Japan. The most successful regime change transitions tend to occur when there is a serious and well-organized opposition within the country itself. Such movements typically have recognized leaders, strong organizational networks, and in some cases, even armed wings capable of carrying part of the burden of the struggle and reducing the costs and risks for any external force. The presence of such forces inside the country is important not only for overthrowing the government, it also reassures external powers that after the regimes fall, there will be no need for a prolonged occupation or a large-scale foreign military presence. Perhaps the most important lesson from Cuba is that regime change requires strong, well-organized domestic forces and institutions. Foreign governments tend to take the prospect of regime change seriously only when they see capable and well-organized actors and institutions operating within the country itself. Freedom after a regime's fall is most likely to endure when it has deep roots within the country itself, and when there is an opposition capable of taking control the day after the regime is overthrown, governing effectively and defending the new order against remnants of the old regime. Thank you for watching this episode of Historic Play. If you enjoy deep dives into history, wars, empires, and the events that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community. Until the next video, this is Historic Play signing off.